Namaskaram. It was the year 1990 when I had finished my 10th standard exams and had just arrived at my native village. As usual, Tata was sitting in the veranda of the house and talking to a few visitors. I went and sat nearby. He had the Panchangam, the traditional Hindu lunisolar calendar, and a notebook next to it. He had a pen in his hand and was calculating something for the visitor. He then started talking about what phase of the planet is going on, what are the implications on the health of the person, and how long it will last. He also instructed his disciple to write down names of certain herbal formulations to be prepared for the patient. After they were gone, I sort of mockingly asked Tata, is Jyotisham, astrology, is it true? Do the planets and all these nakshatras really affect us? I mean, they are so far away from us and we cannot even see them with our naked eyes. How can they possibly have an effect on our lives? I feel it is superstition in modern times to be relying on such pseudosciences. Don't you think so, Tata? These questions came from a certain frustration and disappointment of seeing so many of my friends and relatives going to other astrologers and either getting cheated or deceived. In my experience at that time, astrology was a good business which people got no solutions from except wasting time, money, and energy. Me being convent educated added to the skepticism. My Tata patiently replied, does the sun make some impact on you? Physically, it decides when you are awake and asleep, right? Similarly, if you are sensitive enough, you can also see what impact the moon has on you. The 15 days of waxing and waning, Shukla Paksha to Krishna Paksha, the impact of these heavenly bodies is not only on us, but also on every animate and inanimate things on the planet. The very way the ocean behaves on a full moon and new moon is completely different. And even the animals behave differently on a full moon night, and also the plants. And that's why we go collect herbs on specific tithis. And if you're sensitive enough, you'll know that the influence of the 9 planets are there on the human system constantly. And based on the horoscope, we can calculate the trajectory of one's life in terms of health, wealth, relationship, and many more. And then he added a bit sternly, without studying or knowing about a certain science, do not mock or dismiss it as being fake. If you really want to question Jyotisham, first learn it and then you can question it scientifically. This was an open challenge that Tata was posing to me, to learn Jyotisham or Jodidam as we call it here. He was gracious enough to teach me shortcuts to learn how to make the birth chart. I was to use the Panchangam, the traditional calendar which uses sun and moon cycles, along with the 7 planets. I learned that in a couple of months and he had asked me to study my own horoscope first. I was shocked and astonished at the level of accuracy with which my planetary positions on my birth chart mentioned about my character, life situations, and even timelines. Now, I had genuine questions for my Tata. I asked, Tata, does this all mean that my life is already fixed and predetermined? Tata explained, the science of Jyotisham only shows a tentative path that this life would take based on the planetary position at the time of birth. But it is still in the individual's ability to take it up into his or her hands and change it. My interest piqued. How can we change it? I asked. Tata laughed and asked, what do you want to change in what your horoscope says? Well, Tata, my horoscope says that I'll be married by 27 and have 2 children by 30 and I will live abroad. What if I want to change that? Tata became a little serious and said, if you want to change such fundamental things, then a lot of sadhana has to be done. What sadhana? I curiously asked. He said, not the mantra tantra sadhana that you see my disciples do, but something very fundamental which involves kriya and activation and mastery of prana. Later, no matter how much I tried to persuade my Tata to teach me pranayama and kriya, he would not. He would just say, I would eventually meet my guru, but I was impatient to meet my guru. Tata gave me some sadhana to just continue to do till I met my guru. And eventually, my horoscope readings did not come true and my life took a different path. That's a different story for another day. I had a few more questions to my Tata about astrology, Jyotisha Shastra. I asked him, Tata, why is it that all astrologers are not able to read the horoscope as accurately as you do? Tata answered, see, these days astrologers don't come with the same study and preparation that is required of this science. This is no different from astronomy, which is the study of heavenly bodies, and astrology is the study of the influence of these heavenly bodies on human beings. The planets affect only when you are in Bhuloka, planet Earth. When somebody conceives and becomes pregnant, it is just a mass of flesh growing in the womb. Around the 40th day is when the soul, which is in Pitruloka, the world of ancestors, comes down to Bhuloka, the earth, and enters the womb. Much later, through a friend in the medical field, I came to know that even medically, the tubular heart of the infant in the womb starts beating only around 40 to 48 days after conception. Actual life begins then. Tata continued. The influence of the planets on that life starts on the 40th day onwards, even when inside the mother's womb. But because it is difficult to know that date, commonly the Shirodaya, the moment of infant's head coming out of the mother's womb, is considered as the time of birth for that individual. In the past, each family used to have a family Jyotisha. He is the one who would fix the Muhurtam, the date and time of marriage. This date he fixes after consulting and knowing the monthly cycle of the bride. In some cases, the Muhurtam and the time of the bride to conceive won't match, and hence he fixes Shanti Muhurtam. For those of you who are not from the south and outside Bharat, let me explain. In some cases, the marriage date is fixed by the Jyotisha, the astrologer, and happens on that date. But the bride and groom are not allowed to come together on that first night. They are made to sleep separately. Another date, which is Shanti Muhurtam, is fixed by the Jyotisha after calculating 12 to 15 days before the bride's cycle. Scientifically, this is the ovulation time and also the best time for conception. My Tata continued, these days people use protection and want to plan for children after few years. Hence, these things are not valid anymore and we have to do with the Shirodaya, the time of the infant coming out of the mother's womb. Still, we can accurately arrive at major hurdles and landmarks that may come up in a person's life. And the whole purpose of the Jyotisha Shastra is not to resign yourself to fate or destiny, but to use the signs to perform certain actions to circumvent or reduce the effects of the planets. This helps one to achieve success in the world by doing the right things at the right time. But commercialization of this science may also lead to lack of integrity in modern day astrologers, some of whom may resort to manipulating predictions with the aim of making quick money by suggesting some pujas and rituals to remedy the effects. That's when I realized that this ancient science is an ocean by itself and one would have to dedicate their whole life of study with discipline and integrity to use this for the benefit of the world. What I have shared is just the tip of the iceberg of the whole interaction with my Tata. But I thought this would be useful for you all to understand some fundamentals of Jyotisha Shastra. I had asked Tata about how does the practice of sadhana loosen the effect of the planets on our lives. Tata went into an elaborate explanation of the relationship between sadhana and the planetary impact. He also spoke about Nadi Jyotisham, or the palm leaf reading, about which I will talk about in the next episode. Those who haven't watched the episode on astrology and siddha medicine, do watch it. We'll meet soon in the next episode. Namaskaram.